And sorry to repeat, but I just started recording, and we're gonna try and keep our sessions to 30, 35, 40 minutes. And we're gonna start with Scratch. I put up materials that should take us through the entire Scratch unit, and I will do my best to help you troubleshoot things as we go. Usually, like 99% of the time, if you're having trouble loading a file or saving a file, oh, because we're at school, we have to. I work in a school, so we're supposed to be masked all the time. In any case, where was I? You got me off track, and I'm terrible when I get off track. Okay, I can't remember what I was talking about, but basically the idea is troubleshooting, right? If you're having any trouble with Scratch, either saving files to your computer or uploading them, or account issues or things like that, just let me know, and 99% of those can be solved just with an email back and forth. But if something's not working, just send me an email. I'll get things straightened out with you quickly. The worst thing you can do is just get frustrated and ignore it and then fall behind. All right. Are there any questions about that so far? Not seeing anything. Okay, so again, today's just going to be kind of make sure that you know where things are. And if we get to a couple of skills in Scratch, then we'll do that. The first two assignments are pretty easy, I will say. First one is super easy. You just literally have to follow the instruction. I think I even put a video up there for you. But the second one isn't a whole lot more difficult. We've got a tutorial that basically shows you exactly how to do it. And then the third and the fourth one are a little bit more difficult, and I've tried to provide you with some hints, but the difficulty level between 2 and 3 steps up pretty significantly. And then after you're done number 3, the last assignment is an independent Scratch project whereby you will create your own game or book or animation or whatever you want. You can do lots of stuff with Scratch. I've had people make adventure games. I've had people basically make a digital comic book. I've had lots of games, top-down games, first-person games, side-scrolling games. So that you'll have some options there. All right from the beginning here, I'm going to start sharing my screen so that you can see exactly what's going on. All right, now don't forget that these live sessions are recorded, and I'm going to post the recordings in the appropriate spot on the website. When I say the appropriate spot, I mean I'm going to put it with the other Scratch stuff if the session was about Scratch. If we're doing like Photoshop or digital photography and we do a live session, that recording is going to be in that section, so you shouldn't have to hunt around for them. Now, when we do these, I gave some thought to how we need to process the information that I'm giving you and how you practice it. And the reality is unless you have a dual monitor setup at home, unless you have 2 monitors, it's going to be kind of difficult for you to keep up if you're constantly having to switch your window between browser tabs. I mean, some people can do it, and if you can do it, that's fine. But the best way that we can probably attack this for most people is kind of a I do, we do, you do kind of deal, which means that you try to follow along with me while I'm doing my Scratch. And if you can practice while we're going without missing anything, that's great. But I'm going to take it at sort of my pace and go through it and not necessarily expect you to be doing everything that I'm doing at that moment, but at least to be paying attention, to watch, and then to understand why I'm doing what I'm doing. And that's the point where if you don't understand why I did something, it's really important you ask a question so that I can address it right away. Okay, there's no stupid questions. Sometimes I'll say I'll get to that in a second because it's kind of a question about something that we're going to do later. But I usually try to explain things as clearly as I can. And so as long as you understand what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, that's okay. So that's sort of the I do part to show you. The we do part, I think, is when after we're done and I make the video and put the video up, then you got a chance to go back to this live session tutorial and to sort of watch a little bit and then pause the video and then go do a little bit and then watch a bit and then pause the video and then go do a bit and so on and so forth. If it was in a classroom, you'd be looking at it on a big screen and you'd all have your own individual screen in front of you. And I would have you do as I do, but that just doesn't work as well when you have to dedicate your only, for most people, the only monitor that you have to watching the session. So you could do another thing, which is either flipping between screens, or probably a better idea is doing a split screen. So I'm not sure how this works on a Mac, to be honest with you, but on a Windows machine, and I think on a Chromebook and Linux as well, whatever program you have, if you grab the program, so you just right at the top of your web browser in the gray area, don't click on one of the tabs, but click in the gray area. Okay, just click and hold and drag it down, and then what you can do is you can drag it to half. If you try to drag it out the side of your screen, it'll snap to the halfway point. Now, I've got a dual monitor setup, so it actually just moves it to the next monitor. But if you don't have multiple monitors set up, it'll allow it to. Oh shoot! What did I do? Did I lose everybody? No, I didn't. Okay, great. If you don't have a dual monitor setup and you drag a program out the left side or the right side, it'll snap it to exactly half of the screen. If I change my screen sharing so that I'm sharing my primary screen, I'll probably be able to do it. Stop sharing that, and I will share my primary screen, which is this one, I think. No, this one. Sorry, I got two of my screens look the same, so I gotta figure out which one's which. Nope, wrong one. All right. Basically just shared the same one twice. So that's this one. Sorry, it takes a while to share and unshare. I have 3 monitors going, so it's a total pain to find the right one. That's the one. Third one's the charm. Okay, here we go. All right, so hopefully you can see Scratch there. Okay, excellent. So one way you might want to tackle this, if you can, and your monitor's sort of or screen is big enough to see it, is you just you click in this gray area and you drag it. Oops, drag it. And then as you go, you'll notice as I drag it out the right side of the screen, it tries to snap it so that it's exactly half. So that was what I was talking about there. So now it should be exactly half. And then if you do it out the other side of the monitor, it'll do the same thing. Mine won't right now because, again, I'm just dragging it to a different monitor. But you see how it snaps to the halfway point right there? And then it also shows you all your other options, which means you can pick what you want the other side to look like. So now you can see it's totally split screen. And now this is a more reasonable sort of working environment. It's still a little cramped, but it's a more reasonable working environment where you can see most of Scratch, and then you can see the blocks. You could drag stuff out, but you could also watch the video at the same time. So if I put up, this would be the video here. You can see the video. You can sort of watch what I'm doing. And then you can go over here and you can start dragging things out. Now you have to have a monitor or a laptop screen of something that's of reasonable size in order to be able to do that. But that's definitely an option. The other option is to have 2 browser windows open. And when I say 2 browser windows, I mean just like 2 tabs. And for instance, let's just go to YouTube, and I'll just put like a random YouTube thing up here. Whatever pops up on the home page. Okay, so we've got, all right, this is YouTube's homepage. I'll just throw something up there that's not too. Okay, so we've got a video up here, and then we've got our Scratch tab here. So this could be my video, and then in order to flip to another tab quickly, crap, I forget how to do it, but there's a shortcut to flip to tabs. I know how to do it with Alt Tab, is how you change programs. I just got to do a quick Google search here for how to switch tabs. And this is for Chrome, but if you're not using Chrome, every other one's going to have it too. Command Option right arrow, so that would be a Mac, and Command Shift Option Shift. Okay, this will be tested here. Okay, so it's Control Shift Tab. Hopefully everybody can still see me. I have 18,000 tabs open right now, so I've just got to find the right one. There we go. All right, I'm bringing you guys back to monitor number 3. All right, so if you're on, if you're on my video, which will actually come from YouTube, I post them up on YouTube, and then you got Scratch on the other monitor there, so you can kind of flick back and forth between the two tabs. So this can either be the YouTube video I put up, or it can actually be this live session if you want it to be. And then if you just go to Control Shift Tab, you'll get used to hitting it. All you do is hold Control and Shift down, and then just tap the Tab key. And every time you tap the Tab key, you flip between the two tabs. If you do Alt and Tab, it gives you the option for anything that's open in your entire computer, not just the internet tabs. So it's probably better to use the Control Shift Tab, and then just go back and forth between those two. So that's another handy way. That works for Windows machines, and I suspect it also works for Chromebooks and Linux. I don't know if anyone's using Linux. And for a Mac, it's the Option key instead. It'll be like Command Option, and then it's an arrow key. Whatever. It's a quick Google. Just do a quick Google search on how to switch between tabs quickly, and you'll figure it out. So that's how you can switch between tabs, whether you're either watching this live session as we're doing it right now, or if you're watching the recording later. Don't forget, if it's a recording and you miss something, you can always stop it and then just rewind a little bit, and then try again. Also, if you understand what's going on and you feel like the tutorial is taking just a bit too long, you can always go down to this little gear here, and then in the gear they usually have, oh, because it's an ad, so they don't have it for ads. Get to the actual video here. So on the video here in settings, you'll notice there's a playback speed, and you can set that to faster or slower. 1.5 is probably as fast as you want to go. So now you can watch things a lot more quickly than you were before. It might sound a little weird. Okay, so this is just music, but it might sound a bit weird, but it'll be moving a lot faster. You'll get through a half-hour tutorial in about 20 minutes kind of deal. And if it's the opposite, I don't know, I can barely hear it. And if it's the opposite, if it's moving too slow or too quickly for you, you can always just go to playback speed and put it at half speed or 0.75 speed or something like that. Okay, so there's some options for you there. All right, turn off that neo-Renaissance music, or I guess full Renaissance music, and get back to Scratch. All right, before I go any further in Scratch, I'm just going to go back to our class website. Okay, I'm going to share a different screen now because my third monitor is almost behind me, and it's very difficult. I'm an old man. I can't crane my neck like that anymore. Okay, so I'm going to quickly share my screen, and we're going to go back to class website just to make sure that everybody knows where all this stuff is. So we go to classes. Okay, mine will look a little different than yours because I'm teaching lots of classes. So this is sort of going to act as our home page. It's really our announcements page. I'll enter student preview, so it should look exactly like yours. Okay, so this is what you should see. These are the menu items you should see. There's nothing really in 2, 3, and 4 yet because this is a brand new program I'm designing on the fly. So obviously I started with unit number 1, and these will be populated as we move through the course. If you didn't get an opportunity to last week, make sure you go through the start here, days 1 and 2 stuff, just to make sure that you're up to date on how the class is going to be run. Obviously, you found the live sessions here. There isn't really much point in this link because, in fact, I might just remove it because you know where the live sessions are. You know that we meet every day at 1:15 p.m. and I'm going to put the recordings inside the learning material. So I'm actually going to get rid of that link. You don't have to worry about it. All right, so all the learning materials, all the tutorials, all the, any sort of, PowerPoint presentation or however I get the, information to you, however we decide to pursue learning each of these skills, they're going to be located in the proper place in here. So I don't like the fact that it auto opens everything. On the teacher view, you have an option to like maximize and minimize, but that's just the way it is. So number 1, startup. Join shows you, pictures of what you should see when you're trying to join. You just follow it step by step, just like reading a recipe from a box of Kraft dinner, right? Just do it step by step. Don't try to skip ahead. And then you'll get to assignment number 1. I describe what you need to do, steps 1 through 8. I also make a little video that pretty much shows you exactly how to do it. Okay, now for number 2, okay, so we're going to have, these are Scratch tutorials, which are built right into the Scratch website. And the reason I chose them is it's kind of handy to be able to watch right inside the same window. Okay, so this is just to get started, but basically it's going to show you how to do something, and all you're going to have to do is follow along. I think that says move 10 steps, and then play Cat Meow song until done. So there we go. So I'm just following what they're doing right here, and then I can run it and make it meow. It's not going to run when you click the green arrow unless you put one of these in there. But we'll get all to that. To all that. This is just me basically explaining how you're going to see some of these things. So they're animated. Also, there's videos, and then there's next button. So I figured that's probably a pretty reasonably that's a reasonably good way of pursuing some of these skills. So each one of these links will take you to a new one that goes over a skill, right? The getting started, it's just the orientation. What's a sprite and how do you change sprite characteristics like size and color and whatnot? Well, that's taken care of this tutorial. These are all very important sort of concepts inside Scratch, and we will go through several of them while I'm doing these live sessions. So you're going to find some repeated information, but I want to make sure that in the live sessions that I make sure I go through each of the skills that you need in order to make sure you can get through assignment 2, which again isn't so bad, but assignment 3 and assignment 4, the difficulty steps up pretty significantly. So through a combination of those tutorials that are actually built into Scratch and these videos, you'll have enough information to make sure that you can complete these assignments. Now, it doesn't mean you're not going to run into difficulty, and just watching the lessons and practicing the skills isn't actually going to be enough to complete the assignments. You're also going to have to do some critical thinking, some planning, some logical reasoning in order to decide what block goes where and how you're going to tackle this. So yeah, that's okay. No worries about that. Thank you for the notice. If that applies to anybody else as well, that's fine. Just shoot me an email. And that's certainly not a problem. So yeah, so here's assignment number 2. Again, I said assignment number 1's pretty easy. I don't imagine anyone's going to have too much difficulty with it. Assignment number 2 is basically going to be creating a controllable sprite. Now, sprite is just a character. It's basically just a cartoon character or whatever you draw. You can pick from sprites that are already there, or you can make your own by painting them or importing images and things like that. So for assignment number 2, and this is typically what I'll do, is I'll show you a version of the finished version. Or sorry, I'll show you a video of the finished version. Okay, and then I've got some notes there. I'm just testing my arrow keys out, making sure Avery goes up, down, left, right when I hold down the keys. And then part of the assignment is when you press the C key, the character needs to glide to the middle of the screen, facing toward the right. So that's the whole assignment there. If you can make the character walk, and remember that walking Also requires the animation, right? It requires that you're changing costumes so that it looks like the sprite is walking. And you'll learn how to do all this stuff. Don't worry about it. If you don't know how to do it yet, I don't expect anybody to. And then pressing the C key on the keyboard and the character should glide to the middle, just kind of like fly to the middle over a period of 1 second. So I show you how it should look when you're done and testing it out. And then for a lot of them, I give you sort of a little helper starting point. Now, here's all the blocks you would need in order to make that work. But obviously, they're not connected or put in any useful order for you. So it's just a little helper to get going. You know that you need these blocks. So if you just drag all of those blocks out in your Scratch window, make sure I'm in the right spot here. You just drag all those blocks out when you're creating. You know, you just drag them out. You don't have to connect them to anything. And then start from there. That, you know, it gives you a pretty good head start, right? So this one, the assignment number 2 is Avery. It's not Scratch the Cat, so you got to junk that sprite. Go down here, add another sprite. And then if you look through the list, you can either search for it, but Avery is one of the top ones. So there's Avery walking right there. If you notice, if I just put in a green flag, this is how you start all programs, by the way, that block. If I just hit play, you notice like Avery's not going to walk. Or if I move Avery, Avery's not going to walk, even though Avery is moving. Okay? It has more to do with the costumes, because right now Avery is in this pose, but if you look, there's 3 more versions. There's that version, and that version. So you've got to cycle through. By the way, the last one, number 4, skips back up to 1, right? So 4 and 1 is the next. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you run through them enough times, just like if you're animating something, you're going to get the sense of actually walking instead of just kind of gliding along like this. Okay, so that was just, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have done that yet, but that was just a brief description of assignment 2. So once you get all these blocks out here, and after you've gone through the tutorials and some of these live sessions, you'll have a much better idea as to how to complete that. My strong recommendation is not to jump right to this and try to start putting things together. If you know anything about math, you know that there's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's a lot of different possible combinations and permutations of how you can hook these blocks together. There is literally 0 chance of you just putting things where you think they go and having it work properly. You're going to have some understanding as to what each of these blocks does before you do it. I just don't want you to go out here and say, well, if I just put the puzzle together in the right way, it'll work. Well, that's true. But it's not like a regular puzzle where, you know, one piece only fits in one spot. There's all sorts of different options for where these things can go. So save yourself some frustration. Go through the early parts of the tutorial and these live sessions before you tackle number 2. If you understand number 2, when you're done, if you understand how it works and why it works and how to use things like this forever loop and an if statement and, you know, weights and, you know, changing size, changing the way things look, changing, you know, what happens when you press certain keys, then it makes number 3 possible. Now, I do not want you to get too frustrated with number 3. It's a significant jump in difficulty, but I've tried to create for you a recipe for how you should go about doing this step by step, and I've given you more hints about what you need to use. So you need to read through exactly what's supposed to happen in the order in which it's supposed to happen. And then I've got hints for you down here. So when you're trying to complete number 1, character needs to start at the left side of the screen. I give you the exact position. You'll learn about what that means in a bit. And then I've got tips down here. For number 1 and number 2, you're going to need these blocks and you're going to need to do something with them. And then there's a description for number 3. You need to create variables and then set random numbers and store them in those variables. So a variable is just like a box that you store stuff in. Okay, so then I show you how to make one of them. And then you can figure out how to do the other 2 or 3. So you get the idea, right? I'm giving you some chunks of it, but you're going to have to put them together in the right order, and you're going to have to add some things and subtract some things and duplicate some things. And actually, you won't have to subtract anything. Everything in here is actually in the project. You don't have to look for things that don't belong. Everything in here belongs in here. But once you complete this block, You may have to duplicate that because there's kind of two more things that work exactly the same way. So little things like that I expect you to be able to do, but everything that's in here will actually be in your finished program. That being said, there are different ways of creating a program that does the same thing. So it's not necessarily that there's one single right answer and one single way of accomplishing the goals. Okay, so even for number 2 here, you can actually end up with the same video that I have and the same controls and whatnot in slightly different ways using slightly different commands and methods. So there's more than one right way to do it, but there's also ways that are definitely wrong. So when you go into these assignments, I want you, before you hand it in, and actually preferably before you even start it, if you go full into the assignment, okay, it gives you the same information, but I also have a rubric, and you should be able to see it. To show, oh, there it is, view rubric. So I try to put rubrics for all my assignments just so that you know exactly what I'm looking for. So this one's pretty simple, right? There's only 3 things in here. The character must move with the arrow keys and they have to move in the correct direction. The character animation is working, which means the costume changes are occurring and it looks like the character is actually walking. And then does the glide to center work? When you press the C key, does it glide to the center? Does Avery glide to the center and still point toward the right? So that's a pretty simple rubric, but it's a good way for you to check over what you've done before you hand it in. And it's also a good way for you to sort of set yourself up to make sure that you do all those things. So that's a relatively short rubric. By the way, when you're ready to hand it in, okay, it's down here, browse local files, and then pick the file. You can pick multiple files too. You can hand in as many files as you want with one submission. So I might show you how to do that a little later, but right now I just want to show you the rubric for assignment 3. Okay, so assignment 3 is significantly more complex. So the rubric's going to be bigger, but it still, I think, provides you sort of a helpful way of going through things. Again, you got to go through it in order, otherwise you'll confuse yourself. Okay, so assignment number 3, if we look at the rubric for this one, you'll notice it's quite a bit bigger, right? But each thing is related to one of the steps here, right? So step 1, step 2, step 3, etc. So the first one is at the beginning of the program, is Avery in the right spot? Is Avery pointing in the right direction? So that could be 3 easy points, right? Does the character walk to the middle of the screen? And oh, sorry, this isn't the Avery one. This is the math one. It's a different one. It's not the Avery walking one. It's the actually Scratch the cat. Does Scratch walk to the middle of the screen? And do the costumes change? Do they set the right number of variables? And do they name them properly? Do you have logic to check or to do the multiplication? Do you have logic to check if a number is in a range? Do you display the correct either you win or you lose message at the end? Now, you're not really going to understand what all these things mean because you haven't even looked at the assignment yet, but it shows you exactly what you're being marked on, and I think it's important. Pretty much out of time today, so I'm just going to show you assignment number 3. I'm just going to show you a video of what it's supposed to look like and give it a quick description. So this is assignment number 3. Start with Scratch the cat, and this is automatic, by the way. Scratch starts in that position and then walks to the middle of the screen, but the user doesn't have to press the keyboard. It just happens automatically. Then Scratch gives you a random number. It's a start number up here, and you'll know how to do this by the time when the time comes. I'm just showing you what this assignment is. So you're kind of preparing ahead of time. Maybe you think about things you learned during the tutorials or the live sessions that might help you with this one. So the computer automatically generated a random number and stored it in a variable, which is just a storage box. And that random number happened to be 17. Okay. It also created 2 more random numbers, a random number between 21. This one was between 1 and 20. The low number is a random number between 21 and 499. So that was just a random number between those two. Computer picked it automatically. And then the high number, I told it to pick between 500 and 1,000. So it randomly came up with 878. So I'm just going to keep playing it. So it tells you what the starting number is. And I'm just kind of referencing right now. There's your starting number. Then it says, how much do I need to multiply this number by to end up between these 2 numbers? So what do I need to multiply by 17 in order to get any number between those 2? Okay, so there's a lot of options, right? So I'm going to type in, okay, these are the numbers. I got to get in between those 2 numbers. So I'm going to enter in the number. I can't remember what I entered in here. I recorded this earlier. And by the way, I'm playing it in slow motion. I recorded it or edited it in slow motion, so you had lots of time. So I entered 10. So 10 times 17 is 170. Then my logic checks and it says 170 is between those two numbers. Therefore, I win, and I change color. Now I'm going to start the program again. Okay, you'll notice all the numbers are different because they were random, right? So this is random between 0 and 20, or sorry, 1 and 20. So I got 11 this time. And this one was between 21 and 499. I got 47. This one's between 500 and 1,000. I got 598. So I got to pick a number that multiplies by 11 and ends up between those two numbers. So what number am I going to enter? I entered 3 because I want to get it wrong. So 3 times 11 is 33. 33 is not between 47 and 598, so I lost. So what happens when I lose? Instead of changing color, my character spins around, and then that's the end of the program. So that shows you just 2 possible ways that program could end. The only 2 ways. Either you guess a number that's correct, and Scratch tells you you win, and you change colors, or you pick a number that causes you to lose, and then Scratch does a little spin thing and says you're a loser. So that's how the game runs. And you might be looking at that and going, oh my God, there's so much math and stuff like that. It's actually simpler math than you think. These numbers look weird because they're random and they were generated by the computer, but it's an automatic process. You don't have to do math for that. What you do have to do is be able to use logic to determine if one number is above the low number and below the high number, because it's got to be in between the two. And as we get a little further down the track in Scratch, you're going to be able to do that. So don't panic right now. It's a more complex project. I just wanted to show you what it should do now. So you've seen it. Now maybe something in the tutorials or the next couple live sessions as we're doing it, and as I'm giving instruction and showing you how to do things, maybe you go, oh, I think I'm going to need that for assignment number 3. So it's helpful for things like that. I call it preloading your brain, right? If you look at the end product, you kind of have an idea of what it is that you need to build it. And then when you come across that information as part of your research or learning, your brain's already kind of preloaded for it and waiting for it. So it's easier for you to kind of go, oh, okay, I think I might need that skill soon. Whereas if you just start from the start and learn everything and then look at assignments, you didn't know what was super important in the tutorial, because frankly, some stuff is more important than other stuff. And I'll try to give you, a heads up on which stuff is really important. But if you know what to look for a little bit ahead of time, it makes it easier for you. And this is 15 years of teaching experience and 43 years of life experience talking to you. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see a hand was up there. Okay, now that's good enough for today. What I want to do here is I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to run back to the questions really quickly, or to the chat, and just see if I missed anything. Okay, that's helpful advice for people. Control and tab. Oh, okay. If Control and tab works for the for cycling through windows, that's great. Thank you, Dade. That can we hear it? Can't add. Okay, so all that's good. And somebody had their hand up, and sorry, I didn't see it. If there's still a question, post it. If there is no more questions, please make sure that you go and sign up for a Scratch account. And in case I didn't say this before, although I think I did, if you have a Scratch account from before this year, that's your own account, that's not related to a classroom or a school, you can keep it. That's fine. If you created an account in like Ms. Vedder's math class, I'd encourage you to go create another one. Because what happens is if a teacher has added you to a class and your account is linked to that class, so it's kind of like a special Scratch account. And what happens is if that teacher disables the class or deletes the class, everything that you have is kaput. So I'd rather you just have your own account. And if you want to create an account that's a throwaway that you're just going to throw away after the class, that's fine. In fact, I recommended that people just use like OLC and then, your student number, or some other school appropriate username that doesn't have to mean anything. Just make sure you don't use your real name. Make sure you don't use your real like birth date or anything like that. Nothing personally identifiable. So, just create something that's school appropriate and that is your own. And then when you hand in the first assignment, you're going to actually type in the little write submission box there. You're going to say, here's my file. And then you're also going to say, this is my username, because I have to know what your username is in order to go and look at it online. So you're gonna have to share everything publicly, but there's nothing that we're going to be building that would cause you a problem to share. It's all going to be very general information. So I think that's going to do it for today. And yeah, are there any questions? I did think of one more thing, actually. I did think of one more thing before you go. I'm just going to share my screen quickly because I did have a couple questions about this already. And I want to take care of it right now so I don't have to answer it several more times. Okay, just get out of the screen here. Okay, on Scratch, the question was when I try to open a Scratch file on my computer, it gives me an error, and here's why. Okay, I've got this crappy little program. There's almost nothing in it. Here's how you save it to your computer. If you just go to save now or save as a copy, it's saving it in your online account. If you want to get it on your own computer, you have to go save to your computer. When you do that, it goes into your downloads folder. Now, here's where the problem is. Okay, so I'm just going to open up my downloads folder quickly. Okay, so here's my downloads folder. And here's that file I just downloaded, right? If I double click on this, it's not going to open. Okay, it's going to give me an error because your computer doesn't know how to open a Scratch file. Okay, I did get an error. It was just on a different window. Your computer doesn't know how to open a Scratch file unless you've got the Scratch desktop application. So you actually have to install a desktop application of Scratch in order to be able to double click files and open them. You can do that if you want, but it's not 100% required. So when you download the file to hand it in, you're not going to be able to double click it to open it. What you need to do to open a file is you need to go back to the web version of Scratch. Again, this is only if you didn't download the desktop version of Scratch and install it on your computer. So you got to go back to the desktop version of Scratch, or sorry, the web version of Scratch. Go to File, load from your computer, and then it's going to give you the normal window, and you got to find out where the program is. So it's in Downloads. So there's my file. Okay, I'll upload a different file, Mega Man, and then it'll ask you, do you want to replace the contents? Yes, you do. Now you've got a different program in there. So that's how you save and download Scratch files to your computer. And that's how you open Scratch files that are on your computer using the website. There is also a desktop program for Mac and Windows you can download so that you can do it offline. You don't have to be connected to the internet. And I don't remember exactly where that, remember exactly where that program is, but it's somewhere here. There you go, Scratch Offline Editor. I just Googled it. So now if you download this and install it on your PC or your Mac or your Chromebook or your Android device, then you can double click files to open them on your computer. So you can either, you can use just the website if you want. That's totally fine. You're going to have to for part of it because you need to, share stuff with me. But you know what? It's perfectly fine if you just want to download the program, and then when you're handing in files, just hand in the files, then you don't have to have anything online. So if that's the way you want to do it, if you don't want to start a Scratch account, if you just want to download the program, build everything on your own computer, and then hand in the files through Classroom, then that's fine. You don't even have to make an online account if you want. So there's another option. Some people prefer to do that. Other people say, well, I'll just create an account and I'll use the website version. Either way is fine. If you have questions about that, send me an email. I'll make sure I get back to you super quick. Okay, I'm up at about the 40-minute mark here, so I think I'll sign off for the day if there are no questions. If there are questions, feel free to ask them now. Okay, so every day you should be putting 2 hours in on this class, all right? I'll be honest with you and say if you put in like an hour and a half of decent work, you'll probably be fine. Do not be that student who leaves everything to the last minute. You just won't have enough time to finish up. And I'm sure some of you found that out the hard way in your first semester classes or your first quarter classes, okay? So make your schedule, make sure you've got 2 hours for this class, 2 hours for whatever other class you're taking, and then an hour for your math class every day. That's 5 hours, just like you would do if you were in a physical school. If you were in a physical school, you'd have a 2 hour block in the morning, you'd have a 2 hour block in the afternoon, and you'd have one more semestered class for an hour. So you're doing 5 hours whether you're at home or you're at school. It's exactly the same. The only difference is I can't enforce you not doing the work at home. That's on you and your parents and your guardians, right? I can't look over your shoulder and tell if you're working or not. I have statistics on my machine that tell me when you're in the classroom and when you're doing what you should be doing. But I'm not a policeman, right? So if you decide that you don't want to do any work and you don't care, and I'm just telling you, like, I can't force you to do anything. I'm strongly recommending it because I care about you and the people who are, in charge of you and you're in charge of your care, parents, guardians, family members, etc. They care about you too, and that's why you're in school right now. All right. So make good decisions. You're at that age where we don't, we shouldn't have to treat you like children. We know that mistakes are going to be made. Hopefully you learn from them. So if you did have a rough first quarter because you procrastinated and put stuff off, it's a good opportunity to get off to a good start on this one. And if you put in the time, I guarantee you'll be fine. And not only will you do well in this class and your other classes, you'll be prepared for grade 10. And grade 10 is when you start getting credits. So it's super important. Okay, I've seen too many grade 9. I've taught grade 9 math my entire career, and I've seen far too many grade 9 students not give their math enough effort, and English and other subjects, other core subjects, not give it enough attention in grade 9 because, there's no credits in grade 9, so it doesn't really count. Well, it's true there's no credits in grade 9, but it's also true that students who fail or struggle in grade 9 math and English and history and social studies, they also struggle in grade 10. So the statistics on that don't lie. If you have gaps in your learning, that's fine, but help work with your teachers and help us help you fill those gaps so that everybody's sort of on a level playing field starting in grade 10. And we're here to help. Your teachers are here to help. You're probably not going to like every single one of them, but that's part of life too, right? You're not always going to enjoy everybody you work with. You have to just do the best you can. And be good to people, and hopefully they're good back to you in return. So there's the life advice for the day, and that's it. That's all I got. Take care of yourselves. Well, Dave, that's fantastic. I know that, like I say, in 15 years of teaching, there are very, very few people I've worked with that I've not liked. There's a few, but not very many. Most of the teachers out there, you're going to find at least 90% of them are in this job because we like people, we like working with students, and we enjoy hopefully making a bit of a difference in your life. So hopefully that trend continues with you. All right, take care, folks. Remember, 1:15 every day as long as we got school. And tomorrow will be our first official Scratch. We're working on Scratch. For the rest of the day, because we've only burned about 45 minutes here, for the rest of the day, go through a couple of those tutorials, get assignment number 1 done if you haven't already, and then go through a couple of those tutorials and see if you can get a little bit of assignment 2 done. Okay, if you can't, that's fine, but at least get assignment 1 done and then look at one of the tutorials. All right, take care of yourselves. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.